Black and white images are what's left of a story of sacrifice and survival in the 1960s, when more than 14,000 children arrived in the U.S. as part of a project known as Operation Pedro Pan, or Operation Peter Pan.
Didn't know if I was ever going to see my parents again and my family.
And that was really the end of childhood for me.
The pain that all the parents felt. In front of us, they put up a good front. But once we were gone, that's when the floodgates were opened.
All my cousins came through Operation Pedro Pan. We lived with each other.
Not everybody knows about it, but the memory is still etched in the hearts of those who are around to tell their version of what began as a secret operation to escape communist Cuba in the years that a new government took hold and Fidel Castro became the country's dictator.
When you called me, I started remembering, and it was painful. It was very painful. First of all, because I did not want to leave. I wanted to do something in Cuba. Is this the information that you have for me?
Instead, Margarita Garcia did something in the U.S., becoming the head of a successful marketing agency. She was 14 years old when she arrived in the U.S. alone, her family in Cuba fearing for her life and worried that she would be indoctrinated into the communist regime, took a gamble on Operation Peter Pan.
The operation really served as a good partnership moment between church and government, both helping each other.
The Catholic Church led the effort with the U.S. government to get kids out of Cuba and on American soil. While it gave the children an opportunity at a new life, it separated them from their loved ones.
Communism makes families do things that they would normally not do.
Chicago played a role in that operation. Garcia says she and at least 80 children ended up in the Chicago area, some along the North Shore suburbs. Chicago's Archdiocese recently uncovered some writings and pictures and shared them with WGN. Little kids seen here being handed a snack by a set of twin helpers.
It was the first time ever that I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I hated it. But I am really grateful to the U.S. administration of the time and to Catholic Charities for making it possible for some kids to be saved.
Garcia found a new family in the U.S. who provided housing. It took more than a year to reunite with her mother in the U.S. She was one of the lucky ones, though. Some waited years to reunite, others never did, and some had a difficult time understanding what was happening.
The experiences are as varied as the 14,000 children.
University of Illinois professor and author Maria de los Angeles Torres wrote a book about those years titled The Lost Apple.
This is a picture of the day that we left.
She herself was a Peter Pan kid at 6 years old. So were countless others, from famous salsa singer Willie Chirino to former U.S. Senator Mel Martinez to the stepfather of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos.
I think that there are many of us who have made contributions. I think there's lots of other people who were traumatized, some of them in ways that they never recovered from.
It's a part of the story that rarely gets talked about, but Professor Torres thinks that perhaps it has led to some understanding about immigration and the role it still plays on so many lives today.
Separating children from their parents is never a good thing. If the children are in danger, the parents are too. So immigration policies, I think, should really take into account the family as a unit and not necessarily separate children from their parents.
A lesson that remains long after Operation Peter Pan. And Operation Peter Pan ran until October of 1962, when commercial travel between Cuba and the U.S. ended. In December of 1965, another program started to reunite families. 90% of the Peter Pan kids who were as young as 4 years old when they left Cuba were reunited with their parents. Celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, I'm Lourdes Duarte, WGN News.